Michael Kane, Acting National Secretary of the Transport Workers Union. Well, TW is here today at the Industrial Deaths Inquiry together with truck driver John Walters. We're here to shine a light on the deadly commercial pressures that exist in road transport. Any time a worker doesn't return home is a tragedy from work. Any time they don't return home from work is a tragedy. In road transport though, the danger is tenfold. Because of course, road transport drivers connect with Australian road users all the time. This is a community crisis. 184 Australians are dead. They're dead because of the pressures, the deadly pressures in this industry. Companies at the top of transport supply chains, massive companies, manufacturers and retailers, the likes of Aldi, are squeezing every dollar out of the transport companies they use to cart their goods. And that means that drivers and the companies they work for are squeezed. They're squeezed to the point of having to work too long or too fast simply to make a living for themselves and their families. And the results of that are absolutely deadly. These are deliberate actions to squeeze profit out before safety. In our society, if an individual deliberately causes someone's death, we call it murder. Well, this is supply chain murder. 184 Australians dead. Supply chain murder. And the federal government is standing by and doing nothing. In fact, the federal government abolished the one thing that was making a difference. The Road Safety Remuneration Tribunal in 2016, and has put nothing in its place. And here we have this carnage that we're going to tell the inquiry about today. I'd like to hand over to John Walters to say a few words, a truck driver of many years.
Thanks, Michael. Just heard what Michael said, and I totally agree with him, because we've got people going to work that won't be coming home within today, tomorrow, or the next day. It's not only those guys that actually pass away or motorists on the road, it's the couple of thousand other people that are affected by the 300 odd deaths or the 189 that have died. You've got thousands of people affected. You've got and the government will go on about this, the extra cost and every fatality out on the road with pensions and counselling and everything else that goes involved with it. But the top of the food chain has to be held responsible. They're the ones who set the ridiculous deadlines. They're the ones who got up in the Safe Tribunal. And if you've got the downward spiral case on the fees, money that people are being paid, they're not going to be able to maintain their equipment. We're going to have people running around with faulty gear. The RMS and police can do what they can do, but there's not enough of them to catch every person with a defected truck out there. They would have to have over 100,000 people just on the RMS to do it. And I can't see that ever happening. So we need to bring the government accountable. They were also at when they abolished Safe Rates Tribunal, they were asked how are they going to feel when they've got blood on their hands. And right now they have. This 189 people that have been killed, be it a truck driver or a motorist, they've got the blood on their hands because they did not give the tribunal a fair go to work. They just cut it off because they were listening to the big end of town. We need to bring them to account. I've been to over 50 funerals. I do not want to go to another one of a person I know driving a truck, or I don't want to have to go home with my boss and tell someone that someone's been killed because either the driver in our trucks had an accident or someone's run into him and killed him. That's all I've got to say right now.
Are there any other measures that you guys would like besides the road safety tribunal?
Well, I think the key thing here is that we've got to make sure that there are tough penalties in place. Deterrence is important. We've got really what is just a slap on the wrist for companies who are literally killing people on our roads. There's got to be proper enforcement. There's got to be a boost to enforcement agencies. But the key thing is that this government, its own report said that truck crashes would be reduced by 28% if the tribunal had been let do its work, puts in place a body that can deal with those pressures right at the top of supply chains. The federal government is failing to act and people are getting killed on our roads.
You mentioned gig economy workers in the submission, Uber, Deliveroo, etc. What penalties would you like to see if those companies were held responsible for deaths at work?
Well, every worker deserves rights, and in this so-called gig economy, those workers deserve rights as well. Those workers are left to the market. There's a notion that there's a shiny new economy. This is not some shiny new economy. This is old-fashioned exploitation in the gig economy, old-fashioned exploitation that is leading people to danger, that has actually led people to lose their lives on our roads and in our communities. So gig economy workers deserve rights. Gig economy workers are subject to the same dangers. We're going to be calling on this inquiry to tell the federal government to act and to act quickly to make change.
Oh, look, again, I agree with Michael. I'd like to see it enforced that it needs to be in legislation. It can't be a voluntary thing. If it's voluntary, no corporate body will actually, they might sign up to it on a voluntary thing. They won't do a thing about it. So we actually need it to be enforceable. They should have procedures in place where whoever is employed in the transport chain, they have to make sure, one, the drivers are being paid right, because Professor Quinlan's report actually linked poor wages to accidents, and he did that for about 5 or 6 years, 10 years, his research into it. We need also for him to make sure the blokes are paid right, make sure the companies that they're using are got maintenance programs in, and prove to them that they're actually having those trucks maintained. Because if you've got a truck out there with bad brakes, not serviced, you could end up someone going down the road, a public vehicle cuts in front of him, he goes to hit the brakes, he's got no brakes, he runs over the top of that car. That's not him being killed, that's maybe a couple of kids in the car, someone's mother, grandmother, son, daughter, dad, mum. It shouldn't be on. That sucks, and we need the government held accountable that they actually put something in that is enforceable. If it's not enforceable, the carnage will just increase and increase. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you very much.